Joe Burrow over the weekend was very outspoken. We talked about it on Friday, but he continued talking. He had more to say, and I think there's just one line that got everyone to feel pretty confident now about the Bengals having a chance to get it done in regards to, obviously, Burrow's already taken care of. But Jamar Chase about to be taken care of. But what about Trey Hendrickson and what about T. Higgins? Joe Burrow says he feels pretty confident they can get it done. Take a listen.
You learn a lot of discipline through those times when, we're playing in meaningful games down the stretch, but, we knew we needed help at the end. So when you're in that position, it's tough to maintain the consistency and discipline that you need every day to go out and play well. And so I was proud of myself for pushing through that, and all of our guys for doing that. You learn it's not a position I've been in before, so whenever you're in new positions like that, you learn a lot.
What about the beginning of the season? Obviously, you guys have been getting off to these slow starts, and I know it's like in the back of your mind, like we got to play better, but something clicks and you guys turn it on. How do you switch that up for next year? How do you get to that fast start?
We just got to execute better early in the year, whether, we need to change something in the offseason or we just need to execute better down the stretch. We came in a lot of close games that came down to one or two calls and plays that we did or didn't make.
But you said statistically you had one of your best seasons of 43 touchdowns, over 4,800 yards. Just tell me, for you at the quarterback position, how is it now? What are you seeing now on the field, because you have this calmness to you?
Yeah, everything's moving pretty slow for me right now. It feels good being in the spot that I'm at. I work hard for everything that I have and everything that I do, and I have a great routine at this point in my career for facilitating my success on the field, and that's a good feeling.
Last couple for you, Joe. Obviously, it's an offseason in which you're trying to figure out some contracts for some guys, whether on the offensive side, T and Jamar, and defensive side, Trey. How does this organization go about trying to get everybody back to run it back again?
Yeah, we can make it happen. And it just has to be right for everybody involved. And I know the players want to make it work. We all want to be together. So I don't see it not working out, but we'll see.
I don't see it not working out, but we'll see. He says we can get it done. It has to make sense for everyone. Obviously, a lot of these lines we've heard from Duke Tobin saying, it has to make sense for everybody. We roll our eyes at that. We hear Joe Burrow say, he says he's confident that they can get it done. He doesn't see why they can't get it done. And like I said, it hits different. When you hear Duke Tobin say it, whatever, we roll our eyes because we don't trust that front office. But when Joe Burrow says something, we latch on to it. You guys trust your quarterback. You trust Joe Burrow. Your takeaways after hearing him say he doesn't see why they can't get it done, your takeaway is what?
My takeaway is, again, I kind of mentioned it last week, my takeaway is that whatever Joe Burrow wants, I'm going to say that Joe Burrow is going to get. And the fact that he wants this, he wants T. Higgins, he wants Trey Hendrickson, he wants those things, and I think the front office is going to have to listen. You cannot risk, especially in today's sports landscape, where requesting a trade because you're upset for half a year has become so much of the norm. You know what's going to happen if you upset this guy. You know he's going to want out. And whether or not that's right, that's the way sports have been going for the past 10 years or so. And I'm not going to say that Joe Burrow would request a trade immediately, but I think it's just another notch on that line, because if he goes in the next season without a number 2 wide receiver, without a decent defensive player, then I don't know what the Bengals are doing. I don't know how you can be taken seriously as an organization if you're going to take away from a team that already underachieved. You can't do it. You have to bring him back. You have to pay him. And then you have to go out. You have to draft well, and you have to get more talent. There's so much the Bengals have to do, and it starts by keeping the guys you already have. You have to keep them. And I think if Joe Burrow wants that, and if he's going to continue to plead for it openly in front of the national media, then I think the Bengals have to do it.
I think you're right. I think Bengals fans have 2 options, and it's you either believe Joe Burrow, as every single time he gets a microphone, he tells you that we need to keep these guys, we're going to keep these guys, they're working together to keep these guys, they're going to make the money work, et cetera, et cetera. Or you just think the Bengals front office is going to continue to be the Bengals front office and operate how they have for the last however many years. And those are the 2 camps you can be in. It's a lot more fun as a Bengals fan to be in the believe Joe Burrow camp. Joe Burrow's been a great quarterback for the team, one of the best players, if not the best player in franchise history, and he's telling us that we're going to keep our guys. So we're choosing to believe him. Now, I do totally understand why people outside of Cincinnati are a little less eager to believe him.
Yeah.
They've seen how the Bengals front office, Duke Tobin and Mike Brown, have operated for years and years and years, and that wouldn't align with re-signing all these guys at top of the market values. So I understand both sides of it. Every time I hear Joe Burrow speak, the more and more confident I get that they're going to be able to bring these guys back. I don't know whether it's the smartest move or not. I keep going back and forth on that, but I know the smartest move is keeping Joe Burrow happy. So whatever gets you to that point, I'm going to be okay with. And right now it seems like the only way to get to that point is re-signing T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson.
Elliot, you brought up a good point too. Like, you got to keep him happy. And what happens if you don't? Like, and then this isn't waving a flag to induce, panic or anything like that. But, like, what if they only keep one of two? Are you worried then? If they get a deal for Trey, but they do move on from T, is that okay? If they keep T but move on from Trey, and I think some of you have said you're like, Trey, it kind of makes sense to move on from Hendrickson in regards to, like, because of how old he is. Do you give him that big contract? There would be a little hesitancy right there. What happens if they don't do exactly what he wants? What if we head into next season and there's not a T. Higgins and a Trey Hendrickson, along with obviously Jamar and company? What happens then? Because I don't think anything happens like, oh, he wants out of Cincinnati right now. But I do think if we look back in history and things go bad and poorly moving forward, we could say that it was the 2025 offseason that's where the crack in the foundation truly started. Is that safe to say if something doesn't go as planned this upcoming offseason?
I don't think it's about signing one or the other. I like if you go out and you find a Calvin Ridley, a guy that can replace T. Higgins, a guy that has similar production, sure, it would probably be fine with Joe Burrow if you bring back Trey Hendrickson too. It's like, but we all know in this room and your studio in Dayton, we're all aware that the Bengals not only have the funds, but have the ability with the cap to make all of these signings. They can bring him back. They can bring Trey back. They can bring T back. We know that's a possibility, so why don't you do it? That's my thing. To me, it's not about, signing one or the other. It's about doing what you have the capabilities of being able to do, and that's bringing both back. You can do that. And anything else will be an excuse unless you have a plan. If your plan is to dump T and we'll find two great wide receivers to replace him, that's the plan. And then let's see it. But I don't know if that is their plan. I don't know what the plan is. Nobody does. And to be quite honest, whatever their plan would be, I don't trust it anyway. The only thing I do trust is what we have, and what we have is Joe Burrow, two elite wide receivers, and the guy that leads the league in sacks. That's what we have. So if you want to take away from that, go ahead, but just know that you have the option to bring them all back and be fine for next year. Still sign guys, still draft well, and do your job as the front office.